Ms. Todd, you are suing your former fiancé, Mr. Foster, to prove he fathered your 4-month-old daughter, Selena.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say he called off the wedding due to paternity doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Foster, you say Ms. Todd admitted that she cheated on you during the window of conception, so the baby's not yours.
Yes.
So, Mr. Foster, you called off the wedding.
Yes.
Tell the court why.
Me and Miss Todd, we was engaged. The reason why I called it off was because it was one day, a friend of hers, she wanted to go hang out, and Miss Todd told me that it was her friend and his girlfriend, so I'm like, okay, I don't got nothing to worry about. When I went to the store, came back, I had a call saying that she was gone already, and that was kind of suspicious.
Oh, wait, so you're engaged to her.
Yes.
And she says, I want to go hang out with a friend of mine, and it's a guy.
Yes.
But you say, I'm not insecure, so okay. And then what happened?
And then the next day, Miss Todd came back.
She came home the next day?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead.
So I normally don't go through her phone at all, but her phone just kept on buzzing, and it was a text message, and the text message said, it was good, I want some more.
What?
In my mind, I'm thinking like, you're supposed to be my fiance, and I'm seeing this.
Miss Todd, is this true? You went out with a friend and stayed out all night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, so did you sleep with him that night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me what happened.
Okay, that night, me and my friend went to the store, and then we went back to his place where we was at, and then we was drinking and smoking, and then...
Where was his girlfriend?
She wasn't there, Your Honor.
Oh, so that was a lie?
Yes, Your Honor.
That was a lie from the get-go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, so go ahead. So you go to the store.
You go to the store, get something to eat, then we went back to the place, then it just happened. We used protection.
It just happened?
Yes, it just...
Sound like y'all was planning it to me.
No.
So was this the only time you had sex with this gentleman?
No, Your Honor.
Wow.
You didn't know that, Mr. Foster?
This is my first time ever hearing about the second time.
Well, let me help you get the details. Miss Todd.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had sex with this gentleman again, not just this night, another night as well?
Yes.
Tell me.
He came and got me from the house, and we went back to his place, and it happened again, but we used protection. That's why I felt like Mr. Foster was the father.
So wait a minute, you're engaged to Mr. Foster?
No, not at the time he wasn't.
At the time, you just dating?
Yeah, we was boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. He didn't propose to me. He proposed to me on my birthday. That was the time that he...
That was after you had already been intimate with this gentleman more than one time?
Yes.
But you only told Mr. Foster you were intimate with this guy one time?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why didn't you tell him about the other time?
I'm not sure.
How soon after this did you find out you were pregnant?
It was 2 months.
Okay, Mr. Foster, you remember the night she told you about being pregnant, right?
Yes.
And you were excited initially?
Yes, I was at first.
Did you tell the other guy you were pregnant as well?
No, because I knew it was a possibility that he wasn't the father. So no, I did not tell the other person. He found out on pictures on Facebook.
Did he ever think he was the father?
No.
Because you know protection is not 100% effective.
Right. Yeah.
You know that?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Foster, I want to understand from you, when you initially found out Miss Todd was pregnant, were you happy or not?
Actually, no. I told her that you need to go find your baby daddy because it's not me.
So when she initially told you that, your first reaction was, this is not my child?
Yes, because me and Miss Todd been together for 3 years. And me and her, we had unprotected sex like 2-3 times a day for 3 years. Mrs. Todd have not got pregnant.
Because I didn't get pregnant don't mean that he's not the father.
And then the other thing which sealed the case was when Mrs. Todd finally had the baby, we had sex again, so.
And then he left me at the apartment by myself. He didn't tell me, that he was leaving. He told me through a text message that we was over. Like, we were supposed to be engaged. He should have told me in person. And then he went.
That's what I gotta understand. I gotta understand this. You say you cheated with this guy more than one time before you were engaged.
Yes.
So how'd you get to the point where you found out she cheated, but you still asked her to marry you.
No, we was already engaged first.
She said you weren't.
We was.
Were you or were you not, Miss Todd, engaged when you had your friend come pick you up?
Her birthday is in the summertime, and if I'm not mistaken, it was cold out when the guy came and come
No,
to
it was
come and get
warm
her.
outside when he came. It was warm.
So, Ron, I ain't never heard this before. They don't know whether or not they were engaged. He was engaged, she was not engaged. So you, in your mind,
Do
you
you
were...
see the wedding cake right there? That's on her birthday.
Oh, and there's the ring.
August 8th.
Yes, that.
So now, does that refresh your memory?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you engaged when you had this man come pick you up?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you for that proof, Mr. Foster. That's
Thank
why
you.
you bring proof to court. If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. So, during your pregnancy, he wasn't involved at all?
No, I wanted him to go to see the ultrasound pictures with me, and I have proof right here that I have. He didn't want to go.
What proof did you bring? Ron, will you please hand me this proof? What is this, Miss Todd?
When I found out what I was having, I wanted him to be there. He wasn't there at all.
This is your ultrasound.
Yes.
And then during this ultrasound, you were alone.
Yes, I was alone with a family member, and I wanted him to be there with me.
And he just didn't show.
No, he didn't come. I had text messages showing that, asking him to come to my ultrasound and my appointments with me. He didn't come to none at all.
Because in your mind, you're thinking, this is the man I was engaged to be married to. We were having unprotected sex. I did cheat, however, I used protection then, and he should still be there for me.
Yes.
Let's be honest, Miss Todd, you made a very bad mistake.
I know I made a mistake, you know. I admit to doing my wrong, you know. I wanted him to be there. I wanted him there for the whole beginning of my pregnancy, the whole time through, like taking pictures with me. You know, I didn't have no pictures, no memories with him holding my stomach or nothing at all. That's all I wanted.
Because I'm not the father.
He is the father. That baby looked just like him. Look at that baby right there.
But I'm not the father.
You brought a witness. I'd like to hear from her. Ma'am, please stand. So, Ms. Foster, I need to understand, you are Mr. Foster's mother.
Correct.
Why don't you believe your son is not this child's father?
Ms. Todd admitted that the other guy was the father. I was in Vegas. I received a phone call from my son stating that Mrs. Todd didn't have a place to stay. Once I made it back home, I sat her down at the table and I asked her, you know, was it a chance that my son was the father? She said that this other guy was the father.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I said it was a possibility that Mr. Foster or the other guy could be the father.
So you told her that there's a possibility
Yes.
that someone else could be the father?
Yes, I did,
But
Your
you
Honor.
stated in court today that you said there was no way you thought this other guy could be the father because
Because the
he was
condom broke,
protected.
so it could be a possibility.
Oh!
Yes.
You left that part out of your early testimony.
Ms. Todd is a liar.
Continue, Ms. Foster.
As I was saying, I told her that she needed to take a DNA test with this guy. And family members of hers were calling me, you know, let me know that this guy was the father. He didn't want to be involved.
Hold on. You had her family members calling you to say that this other guy, this friend, was really the father.
Correct.
But that guy just didn't want to be involved.
Exactly.
So what you felt
And-
like your son was just the next best case scenario.
Exactly.
Continue.
I had told my son, I said, if you're going to be with her, you might as well marry her and get over the fact that the child may not be yours. And he signed the birth certificate. He
Mr.
signed the birth
Foster,
certificate.
why did you sign that birth certificate if you're standing in court today saying the entire time you had so much doubt?
The reason why was because I was the only guy that was there that had stepped up.
So you came to the birth.
Yes.
You were there.
Yes.
You participated.
Yes.
Yes.
So you
Named her, everything.
really?
I
Yes.
drove her to the delivery room.
These are pictures of you in the
Yes.
hospital. Beautiful. So at that moment, you just stepped up, or did you say, I really think I'm this child's father now?
Well, it was like more as I'm a step up and I'm gonna be a man since Mrs. Todd is staying with us.
But you did not believe the child was yours.
If he didn't believe the child was his, why would he stop the birth certificate?
Did you understand at that time?
I wanted her to have my last name. He was so adamant for her. my daughter to have his last name.
Were you adamant about that, Mr. Foster?
Well, yeah. Yes, I was.
So let me ask you this. Did you know when you signed that birth certificate that you were acknowledging you were this child's legal father?
Yes, I did.
So at that point, you just decided to step up and say, I'm going to be this child's, because listen, whether or not we determine you are the biological father today, let's be clear, you are the legal father and you're responsible for her. I mean, it is an admirable thing for you to say no other man showed up and this baby wasn't going to have a father, so I'm going to stand up. But if you then come to court to contest the fact that you are the biological father, it begs the question, why sign the birth certificate in the first place?
Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Todd?
I just feel the baby is his. You know, she looked just like him.
Well, you know, feeling don't have nothing to do with it.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I wish it had something to do with it.
Right.
The feeling part is what got you here, but it's not going to be what gets you out of here. The truth is going to get you out
I
of
have
here.
pictures.
Let me see the pictures. Ron, hand me this proof.
Yes, ma'am.
What are these pictures of?
Of him and Selena. He was 4 years old, and she's 4 months now.
And you believe this is baby Selena on the left,
Yes.
and this is Mr. Foster as a child on the right.
Yes.
And you believe they look just alike.
Yes.
Do you see the resemblance, Mr. Foster?
I see some, but I don't think that I'm the father. I'm not the father.
How about you, Ms. Foster?
Not really.
So at the point your son signs his birth certificate, that's why you said to him, well, you signed the birth certificate, now you might as well marry her.
Yes, because he was advised not to do it.
Oh, you told him don't do that.
Me and a friend of mine, which is an attorney.
You had access to legal counsel and still went on and signed a birth certificate for a child
Yes, I did.
that you thought was not yours.
Yes, I did.
You understand that even if today's testimony and the DNA results prove that this is not your biological child, that does not automatically get you off the hook legally for being responsible for this baby. Do you understand?
Yes.
Ms. Todd, now you're in tears. What are you feeling?
I want to know who her father is. This, you know, it's emotional to me. You know,
Now.
him not stepping up to the plate because that baby looked just like him.
But listen, what I just heard you say, and it's okay. Look, this is a sensitive situation. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with a tear. But I just heard you say, I just am ready to know who her father is.
Yes.
So the truth is, you really don't know.
No.
Okay. Mr. Foster, I just have to ask you briefly before we get to results. You know, I see you standing there, and I know at certain points it's been hard for you to even testify today, and I see the look in your eyes. You've tried to step up to the plate for this baby, even though people advise you not to. How has this whole situation affected you?
It's affected me by a lot. Like far as, like by me growing up, not having a father, so that was the only reason why I did what I did.
I understand. I knew there had to be a good reason. Oh, it's okay, honey.
And I did so good by this little girl for 3 months. It's like, I don't know.
And now the doubts are just eating away at you.
Yeah.
I understand. And now I can see clearer what your intentions were. So even though people were advising you not to do it, you were basing your actions on your own personal life experience
Yes.
of not having a dad. And you didn't want this beautiful little girl to experience what you did.
Yes.
I understand. I think it's time for the results.
Yes, Judge.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Todd v. Foster, when it comes to 4-month-old Selena Foster, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Foster, you are her father.
Oh,
I told you so. I told you was her father. I told him he was not there.
All right.
I told you. She looked just like you.
I'm sorry, Chantel.
She looked just like you.
This courtroom exists so that we can clear up confusion and we can move to a place of clarity for the benefit of beautiful, innocent children like Selena. So now there's no doubt. there's no confusion. You all have to figure out from here on out how to move forward in a positive way, a productive way. Now, Ms. Todd, I know this is gonna be your soapbox you're gonna stand on, and you have got to choose to let it go. You cannot keep pointing at him and telling him, I told you, I called you, you weren't there. You're very blessed. I have seen children in this courtroom that are 4 years old, 14 years old, 44 years old that don't know who their father is. Your child's very blessed that she will not remember this time. Mrs. Johnson, you are here today on the verge of divorce because you claim your husband of 7 years is forcing you to choose him over your 12-year-old son, Elijah. You state that you have separated multiple times over the past 5 years of your marriage. You have petitioned the court to order Mr. Johnson into family counseling because you say if he will not agree, you plan to divorce him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Johnson, you admit that your marriage is at its breaking point, but you argue that it's because your wife undermines your authority and allows her 12-year-old son to disrespect you.
Yes, Your Honor. You
claim you were on the street since you were 14 years old, and you fear your stepson is on the same track.
Absolutely.
You are countersuing Mrs. Johnson, asking the court to order her to take anger management classes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, let me start with you. How does Mr. Johnson treat your kids?
He shows blatant favoritism. I'm angry. I just want my kids to feel equal. I want my oldest son to feel
When you say he shows
loved.
favoritism, explain to the court how.
Okay, for an example, I put my kids in baseball. He would participate in our son Ethan's, and he would never participate in Elijah's.
That's not true
That
at all.
photo right there was Elijah's birthday, and I took him to the go-karts, and he was supposed to meet us after work and didn't even show up. My son was so upset. He sat there and cried because nobody came to his birthday party.
He wasn't upset that I didn't come. He was upset that his cousins didn't come from Florida. It had nothing to do with me. His cousins in Florida that he doesn't see a lot, that's where it was at.
Give me more specific stories of how you feel he treats the children differently.
We went on a trip to Gatlinburg. It was just the 4 of us, and we had a great trip. And then it all just kind of dwindled down. My son, we took like a safari ride, and he said, oh, well, me and Ethan will ride on this one, and you and Elijah can ride on that. And it just hurts my son's feelings because he never shows that extra step to where...
She doesn't enforce me as a father figure. She doesn't...
I shouldn't have
I'm the father
because
that's
he's
there.
been in his life since he was 2 years old, and he should take that extra step on his own.
If I've been there this long,
and you see
why not respect me
noticeable
for it?
differences on a day-to-day basis as to how he treats both boys.
Yes, I do. He doesn't take an extra step in, like, as far as going to the PTA meetings or...
Did I, in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning, but things have changed. And
has changed.
You can't expect different results when you're not willing to make a change.
He undermines me at home.
He's 12,
what is he going to do
you're
there?
33.
Exactly, discipline your son.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, in your statement to the court, you said your son asked you, Mom, why can't I have a dad too?
Yes.
He does have a dad. I'm there for him. I potty trained him. I've taught him how to ride bikes. I play video games with him. I've tried so many times. It was years ago.
Mr. Johnson, but do you show favoritism? Do you?
No, I don't.
To your biological child?
I don't
He
show
does.
favoritism,
He will go
no.
in our son's room that we have together, and he will go in there and play
son.
video
I'm not going to
games
be
with them.
disrespected
At one point in
and then deal with it.
I
Why
would
not
go to
discipline
work,
children?
and I would work nights, and they would have like movie night and all this other fun
and
stuff.
you would lay out rules for him to do, and he never does them.
He put it to a stop. My son refuses to come home when me and Mr. Johnson are together. I have a letter from my son right here. I'll read it.
All right.
My name is Elijah. I'm 12 years old. I don't want my mom and Jason to be together anymore. I don't like Jason at all. I don't like being around him. I don't ever want to see him again. He hurts my feelings because he does stuff with my brother and don't want to do stuff with me.
Why? I don't care. That
please
doesn't mean
hand me
nothing to
that letter.
There's so many different points
Mr.
of view.
Johnson, I have to ask you, do you have any idea why Elijah would feel this way?
Elijah is disrespectful to me, to her,
but he's disrespectful.
to everyone.
It's
To
because
everyone.
me and
When you
Mr.
say he's
Johnson have
disrespectful,
He's disrespectful to
altercations.
First,
everyone.
give me
He
some
takes-
specifics. What do you mean?
She told him, we got a new place together. I started to remodel the entire place. She told him specifically to clean up after himself. He is 12 years old. I cleaned the entire house. 5 minutes later, he destroyed it. There's food everywhere. I asked him, pick up after yourself. I shouldn't have to do it. You're 12 years old. He told me, you do it. You'll have to deal with her when she gets home. He knows I can't have that house like that because then me and her are going to fight over a dirty house. And I'm not going to fight over a dirty house. You know what happened? I cleaned it.
So now, Mrs. Johnson, let me ask you, are you undermining his authority?
Absolutely.
Does Elijah feel like
No,
he doesn't have to listen
He
to
knows
I
he
feel
don't.
like I have
He
to
knows he
choose
don't.
between my son
I don't make her choose.
and
If
my
she chooses,
husband.
I'd leave her over
I
that.
feel like that. I do, because when I do
And why
go
you
to
been here
work,
10 years?
I have to take my son to my father's house. My son is not my father's responsibility.
Well, I'm sorry, you don't discipline him. When
Listen.
he does those things, do you think he gets grounded? No, she'll go buy him a video game,
Listen,
a phone,
this is
an iPod.
concerning to me because when I hear a 12-year-old child, to say they don't want their parents to be together anymore and that he doesn't like his stepfather
That's
at all.
because all we do is
Well, it's actually
argue.
funny,
and
the
he
day
gets
before-
tired
He's
of it.
gone.
The day before I left, he didn't say
This
that.
court is about empowering families, helping them understand how to be better families and respect one another.
Exactly. He knows I'm not his
And
father.
I hear you, Mr. Johnson. What I'm trying to get at
He doesn't
is
respect
whether
him.
you respect
So
Elijah.
it ain't just me, though. He disrespects everybody. He disrespects his brother. He disrespects me, his mother. He talks back. She fights with him constantly over the simplest things. Clean your room. Listen, don't talk back. It's always an argument. Take the dog out. Feed the dog. Whatever it is, he cannot do it. He cannot be disciplined. She won't discipline him. And instead of disciplining him, she babies him.
Okay.
Okay? And when me and him were left alone, with me, him, and my other son, and they're fighting for about 2 hours straight, nonstop. She comes home, I tell her what happened, I tell her that they're not listening, and instead of disciplining the kids, she fights with me.
He's the one acting like he's 12 too.
I'm
And
trying
I
to teach him to
don't
be a
always
man. I'm trying to
reward
teach
him.
this boy to be
I
a man.
don't
How
always reward him.
specifically are you trying to teach him to be a man?
If he's 12 years old, can he pick up after himself? Can he listen to his mom? Can he respect his
So
elders?
learning how to do chores, clean up after
Respect?
himself.
Respect?
Yeah, but you
Do you
gotta
think he
give
respects
respect.
his
I did
mother?
give respect for many, many years. I get told, oh, you don't go to his baseball games. He hates me.
So now you two are separated because of this.
Right
Yep.
now.
I mean, I love Jason with all my heart. I do. And
love
I
her
would
too.
love for, us to work and to be a happy family.
We don't
but
see
at
eye
the
to eye.
point it's at right now, I just don't know if that's ever going to happen because so much has happened, so many
How do you want me to be a father
being
but not do fatherly
disrespectful
things?
and
Ms. Johnson, you brought a witness today. Could you please stand up, sir? State your name for the court.
Rick A. Malsh, Courtney's
Mr.
father.
Amash, thank you so much for joining us today. Please talk to the court about what you've witnessed and what your understanding is in terms of the favoritism or Elijah's disrespect, as Mr. Johnson has put it, to him and all people.
Everybody.
I see Elijah being left out on a lot of things.
Left out of what?
Father, son, ice cream. You ask Ethan to pick up your room. It's like, would you pick up your room? What's wrong with you? Why don't?
So why aren't we here for the way you talk to Ethan?
Talk to him like a human being, not like an animal that did something wrong.
Doesn't that go
You're
for
his
both?
grandfather.
Doesn't
Yes.
that go for both kids, though? Wouldn't that go for both children, not just Elijah? Like what Ethan, my son, he does the same thing. He babies Elijah. Oh, it'll be
you
okay.
shouldn't yell at Ethan
oh, it'll
either
be
like
okay.
that.
You yell at him. Your daughter will admit
So
it.
now you're saying that Mr. Amash yells at.
He's way more aggressive with Ethan than he is withElijah. With Elijah, it's okay, pat
Do
him on
you
the
think
head.
he's
Yeah, but I think a big part
overcompensating
of that
for
is
Elijah because he feels
because,
like
I don't know what the reason
you
is.
leave him
I don't
out?
know
Jason
what
is
the
so
reason is.
firm with Ethan that
I am firm with him. I don't want bad kids. I come from the streets. I don't want to raise kids that are going to wind up there. I don't want to be 15 and say, I'm going to go pick them streets instead of my mom and dad. I did that. It didn't work.
So your fear is if I don't keep a tight rein on these boys,
They're going to walk. They're not going to go to school. They're not going to get an education. They're not going to respect you, him, me, nobody.
so it is your purpose in life as the father in the house to give them that discipline. You're saying you're molding
Yeah,
them.
but
You're
how
giving them
is he
discipline.
showing them when he's not working a steady job? When the thing
I got
about
no
it is
education
that
and I do
Jason
work.
sits there and one of our biggest arguments is financial problems. And he's like, I help you and it's 50-50 with both of us, but it's not. Jason pays half of the bills and that's about it. Every once in a while,
A lot of men out here
his
ain't doing
mom
that.
helps more with the kids than he does as far as getting
that a bad
school
thing?
clothes and and stuff like that.
that a
No,
bad
but
thing?
You're saying
I
he
work-
needs to focus less on molding the children and more on providing.
both. No,
Exactly.
I think it needs to be both. He needs
So,
to do
Mr.
it
Moss,
all the
I
way
want to
around.
ask you, what do you think should happen in this relationship? You've witnessed this. You see the relationships they have with the children and the climate in their marriage. What do you think should happen here?
I think they should finalize and get a divorce. I think that would be the best.
You really feel like there's no saving the
I feel
marriage?
like that's contradicting, though.
No, I don't feel like there is. From what I've seen over the years, no. He don't keep a job. If he does get a job, he loses it. And Elijah, it's going to take a lot for those two to get the respect for one another.
And you don't feel like he's setting a good example for your
No,
grandson?
he's not setting.
He ain't in the home. He don't know what I do.
We lived with
Yeah.
my dad from February till July. We lived with my father, and so he does have a good intake of
She
what
needs
we
anger
went
management.
through.
She can't handle them kids, but
I
she
do
can
need
yell.
anger
Thank
She
you
can yell
so
at
much,
me.
Mr. Moss, for your testimony. It
I'll
was
be the
enlightening.
first
You may
one.
have a seat.
I do need anger
I'd like to
management.
now.
I am angry and I'm upset, and I just feel like I'm just
Can't nobody
ready to
handle him.
explode.
He called me himself.
Because it's with my whole family situation, though.
He called me himself and couldn't handle him one day. Now, how is it just
So
me?
you're saying Mr. Moss
Yeah.
called you
Yeah.
and said he couldn't handle Elijah?
Absolutely. He called me. We made an agreement for Elijah to go there because we don't get along. He called me and was like, it's just too much for me, too. I can't take it either. Courtney has to work tomorrow. You guys are going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, but
No,
my
that's
dad
false.
also had plans. You know what I'm saying? My dad is retired. My niece
So
was
it
there.
didn't
She's
happen?
11, and my son is 12. He had plans, so they still have to be under some kind of supervision.
You know, I'm a little concerned because I feel like this child is being pushed here or there, everywhere, because no one can handle him or he's so disrespectful. And I'm not saying that children can't be disrespectful. But
My son's number one
most
advocate.
kids around 12
disrespectful?
years old are a lot to handle.
He's twice the
That's a
12-year-old.
really tough age.
He's twice the
I
12-year-old.
can
But he's got
remember
special
being
needs, too.
12 years old.
Does it happen to you when it's just you and him? Does he
Are
disrespect
you all interviewing each other, or
Well, I
am
wanna
I
get to the
trying to
bottom
figure
of
out
it.
what's going on in the marriage? Because my thing is, all of a sudden you get in here and you want to talk to one another. If you were talking more to one another at home, then you wouldn't be standing right here.
That's our problem.
So now, maybe this is another wonderful thing about paternity court is we allow people to talk to one another even though they're talking over the judge. Continue.
Exactly.
What else do you all want to say to one
My
another?
mom treats all the kids like they're hers. Elijah's not hers, but she treats them exactly the same. Exactly the same. There's not a Christmas, a birthday,
And me
an
and
event.
his mother have a great relationship.
A great relationship. Why can't?
Outside of Jason.
Well,
You know,
and?
if me and Jason aren't getting along or whatever, me and her, we still
quit
talk.
calling.
Granted, sometimes it's a little hard to talk to her when he's there and we are arguing because I feel like it puts her really in the middle.
Okay. Let me move on to the defense witness. Mrs. Phelps Schultz, if you please could stand up. Thank you. You're the defendant's mother.
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please enlighten us on what you know about this situation.
Well, there's a lot of disrespect going around altogether. Okay, it's just not coming from one party. It's coming from everybody. You got the whole family involved here. Courtney's a good-hearted person. She tries to please everybody. I mean, she goes out of her way to please me. You know, and I'm just the mother-in-law. But she does that. She's a pleaser. But you got to set limits for your children. You cannot be best friend with the 8, 7, 10-year-old, 12-year-old. You can't be best friends with these guys. You know, a lot of us parents know that. You got to set a boundary. And bless her heart, she does. The correcting part just doesn't come easy for Courtney, which, and Jason feels the authority figure. Elijah's
feel like
disrespected
Mrs.
so long.
Johnson-
I agree with Rick on one thing and one thing only. I don't think it can be fixed between Elijah and Jason unless a third party comes in and does it. You know.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I
Thank
understand
you.
your point. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. You may have a seat.
I've set up for Elijah has been in counseling for years. I feel like when he's around, my 2 boys, they fight even more because he has like this kind of hatred
So it's
is what I
my
feel
fault they're
about it.
disrespectful. Ethan's disrespectful too. He's
All
an
right,
8-year-old.
so,
He's disrespectful.
Ms. Johnson, that's why you're here. You
Yes.
want the court to order your husband to take parenting classes.
Yes.
What about
I mean,
anger
I wish that
management
he
for
would
her?
do it on his own. I wish that it didn't even have to lead
I wish
to
you
this.
would
that
too. You are
he-
just as guilty as me in every situation.
So why he's trying to put me out here like I don't
He's
do
just as disrespectful as
nothing for my
Elijah. I'm
son?
saying it.
I'm listening to this.
It's
and
crazy.
I am certain
And then we
that
can't stay apart for 2 weeks.
classes could help you both. And what I'm feeling like is that the issues between the two of you in your marriage, some of which are caused by the parenting issues, others financial issues and such, professional issues, they're all getting clogged together, and ultimately the children are the ones suffering.
I agree.
And parenting classes will help you learn how to navigate
brought up
through
There's
this.
gotta be
now,
more than
you
that.
stated to the court, Ms. Johnson, that if Mr. Johnson failed to agree to these parenting courses, that you were going to divorce him.
I was going to petition the divorce, yeah.
Now, Mr. Johnson, having heard what we've heard thus far, will you go? Mr. Johnson, having heard what we've heard thus far, it is this court's opinion and advisement that you both enter parenting classes together. Will you go?
I'll do whatever it takes for my family.
That's great to hear. Let's face it, it's not always an easy job.
No, it's not.
But you all have to get on the same page on the job. I feel like you two are on two different planes when it
We're not
comes
even
to
in the same
parenting.
book.
Everyone's parenting styles are different. As for the anger management request, you countersued and petitioned this court to order that Ms. Johnson go to anger management.
Absolutely.
Earlier in your testimony, Ms. Johnson, I remember distinctly hearing you say, I do need anger management because I'm mad all day.
I am.
You remember that?
And I feel like I'm going to explode, and I need to figure some other coping skills or something because I get to the point where I just want to hurt them all.
Yes. And more wives need to be as brave to stand there and say, I might have on my superwoman cape most days, but some days it's choking me, right?
Yeah.
And I need a little help. I need to figure out how to do these things, or I feel like I'm going to explode on everybody.
I do.
So you are consenting to take those anger management courses?
Yeah, yes.
Wonderful. I realized that there was a petition for divorce. We've seen.
Yes.
I'm going to take a risk and just ask, now that we've consented to the anger management and the parenting courses, is it safe to say that we're going to work on this marriage?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we won't be needing this, right?
Right.
Right.
Fantastic.